This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. It's been said that food is life. Food is medicine. I think it was Socrates that said that many years ago. Food is so important in our lives, and even more challenging for those of us who have challenges with food, be it many things that can present, and that could be diabetes, that could be an eating disorder, that could be food allergies, and so much more. We're going to talk about that and where you can get one-on-one support from somebody who's a registered dietitian, nutritionist, certified diabetes care and education specialist. She's got many credentials to help you out, and it's great to have her on the program today. We're going to learn a lot. I'm probably going to change the way I eat after this conversation. Abby Black joins us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
So before we even begin, we're going to abolish the word diet. We're not going to talk about the word diet. It's the worst word ever, right?
Yes, 100%. I honestly wish I wasn't called registered dietitian. I'd rather be medical nutrition therapist, but yes, it's not a good word.
It's such a negative. Like, first of all, it's got the word die in it. Come on.
Right.
It's a 4-letter word.
Yes.
So we'll put that aside and dig into everything today. What do you find that you're hearing most from people you work with? Is it diabetes that they're challenged by? What are some of the food related challenges?
I work with a lot of different clients, so I would say, each individual is going to have their own challenges. And so whether it is with diabetes and getting their glucose under control, or it could be for clients I see with eating disorders. And that can be so variable because there's such a wide range of clients with eating disorders as far as their needs. And then also food sensitivities. Those are kind of my main areas, but I do see clients with any issues.
Let's talk about food sensitivity, because it's my feeling that many of us have them, but maybe aren't fully aware of that. Would you say that's reasonably accurate?
Yes, a lot of times if you're having gut dysbiosis, or so basically when things are not being digested and processed like they should be, then we have things going into our blood that's not where it should be, which should be staying in our digestive tract. So definitely a lot of bloating or gas or other GI issues, diarrhea, constipation, a lot of those can happen just because of food sensitivities.
I've noticed in myself and speaking with others that sometimes it's a moving target. Like as you get older, many talk about sensitivity to dairy and cheese, right?
Right.
And I found like in the last couple of years, I could one day have pizza, man, no issues whatsoever. Another day, a little uncomfortable. Another day, hey, it's fine again. I don't know if it's the brand of cheese or whatever's going on there, but others say the same thing. And also with the potential gluten sensitivity that some things don't cause issues, some things do, and then you're not really sure what to eat because you want to have a little fun every once in a while, and I don't want to say the word diet in the food that you eat, but does it vary, in terms of what doesn't agree with us?
It can, and as we get older, unfortunately, our body doesn't cooperate as well it used to when we were younger, and so we can have more challenges with digestion, especially with dairy, sometimes with just not being able to have those enzymes automatically that our body needs to break it down into the simplest forms. But
But when it comes to food sensitivity, since many of us have those challenges, and like we said, don't even know it, what's your starting point? Somebody comes to you and says, I just want to eat better. I think I'm a little sensitive to this and maybe that. Where do you begin with that?
That's a great question. So basically, I have a handout where I ask I would say, probably 50 different questions as far as the different body parts. So it can go from sleep issues, nasal issues, weight issues, GI issues, breathing issues, migraines, ear, nose. I mean, there's so many different areas where it can actually be because of a food sensitivity. So we can't just narrow it down to GI issues. It's so much more diverse than that. So I first asked them that, and then I decided, does it make sense to do food sensitivity testing with them?
Okay. And how do you facilitate that?
So that I use a specific company. There are a lot of companies out there that are claiming to provide food sensitivity testing. However, they're more looking at food allergies, or they're looking at it from a standpoint of the IgG, IgE, where it's you're eating it, but your body can't tell, are you sensitive to it or is it just because you ate it? So the one that I utilize is specifically looking at it from a cell mediated reaction. And that way, then we know, okay, based on this information, these foods are my trigger foods. And so for temporarily, I need to take them out. And then I work with the client and slowly bring them back in.
What is the difference between food sensitivity and food allergy?
That's a very good question because it's used synonymously and it's two totally different aspects. So food allergies, the range can vary. It can be as severe as anaphylactic a reaction where somebody is having trouble breathing based on that food. They can never eat it, to more mild allergies where they can eat it, but they may have tolerance issues. Food sensitivities, it's more, again, getting back to that gut microbiome. Your body is a little bit off and we need to get it back working properly again. So that would be, we're going to slowly introduce the least reactive foods, and then as time goes on, bring in those more trigger foods so that way your body is not going to automatically cause issues again.
Abby, how did this begin for you? Your whole journey to helping people with food. Where did it start?
Honestly, it started when I was in middle school. I've always wanted to help people. I wasn't quite sure what career path I wanted to go. And I think it was my mom who mentioned you should look into being a registered dietitian. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Wow.
So I looked into it. I was able to go to the hospital and shadow a dietitian who also taught diabetes classes then. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I said, eventually, I want to open my own practice. So that's kind of from seventh, eighth grade. After, doing schoolwork, I would read about nutrition, all that fun stuff. And then I just kept moving towards that path to go to college. And then as far as my other credentials, it just kind of life changes, circumstances kind of led me to that. So I used to have migraines. That's why I got into food sensitivities, because I couldn't function with them and I needed to find an answer, and all the other options were not working for me. So that's
Wow.
kind of what got me into it. And then once I was able to get rid of my migraines, I was like, I need to help other people. So that's kind of where that trajectory went. But I always wanted to help people with diabetes, and then also with eating disorders. So that's kind of where I landed. I'm still trying to maybe pursue a few more credentials, but I'll figure that out.
It's almost as if your mom was psychic. Like she knew ahead of time what would motivate you, when it
Mhm.
came to helping people with food. Um, with your migraines,
Mhm.
what did it turn out to be that was creating that challenge?
So it was back 10 years ago. So that being said, there were three main trigger foods. My one main trigger food was I was eating it all the time. And by taking that out, it instantly was able to take away my migraines.
So you're saying one particular food that you were eating all the time?
Yes,
Wow.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. And so now I've been able to reintroduce that food occasionally and not have it trigger migraines, which is great.
Isn't it amazing that we take it for granted, when we eat, and many of us, myself included, my stomach will take care of it. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
like a machine, but it's not that way. And
No.
we don't. I don't think we realize what's going on when we feel a certain way. I feel off today. Man, I guess I need some more sleep or whatever. No, it could probably be the foods that you're eating.
It could be a combination, honestly, of sleep or lack of sleep and foods eating. Exactly.
Mm. This is what I struggle with. I try to eat okay.
Mhm.
I'm not a cook. I don't claim to be. I honestly don't have the patience. It doesn't excite me. It just doesn't. I wish it did. Um, are you a cook? Do you like to cook?
I like to cook. I am definitely not a chef by any standard of the imagination. I just do basics.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
I toast an amazing English muffin. I'm telling you, it is
There you
just
go.
perfection. It is perfection. And I only toast one half. I want to keep the carbs down. Um, how do we eat well or balanced, but keep it on a budget? Because,
Mhm.
right away, organic food, yeah, there's a lot of benefits there if it's truly certified.
Right.
Pricey, pricey.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that you would say that if you can do organic, it's a good thing, right?
Right. If you can, it's just for the majority of us, it's not feasible 100%.
Right.
And honestly, the research shows even if you're not eating organic fruits and vegetables, you're still going to have the health benefits from those fruits and vegetables. So to me, it's more important to get that balance, to get the carbohydrates, to get the protein, to get the fat, because all of those different macronutrients are creating and helping your body through different mechanisms. So they're not just for, one source as far as energy or things like that. There's so many things going on in the background that we don't even realize with those macronutrients.
You do one thing when it comes to food and shopping. You do grocery store tours.
Mhm.
What a great idea. Oh my gosh. Now you do that for individuals, groups. How does that go?
Typically, I do it for individuals. It's easier because then I can tailor it specifically to that client. And so, based on their health conditions, then we target different areas so I can help them and we can look at labels and compare. And just instead of looking at 20 different products of the same food, we can narrow it down to two or three and show them the difference and what would be best for their health condition.
Can you do this type? Obviously, the store tour not so easy
Yeah.
virtually for anybody anywhere, but some of the other things that you offer, be it um, diabetes management, which I want to get to in a moment, but all those things, can you do a lot of them virtually?
Yes, actually, right now I'm 100% virtual.
Oh,
So
okay.
I used to have an office where I would see clients in person, but I've now just decided to be more available virtually and do that. So I made the switch and doing that for the majority of the time.
Wow. Diabetes management,
Mhm.
such a challenge. I talk with different people that have, type 1, type 2. How does that look? How do you work with somebody for favorable outcomes?
That's a great question. So basically, what I start out with is seeing where they're at because I always want to meet the client where they're at. It's definitely not a cookie cutter approach. That's not helpful. And a lot of times, I first start with getting rid of all the myths because there's so many helpful ideas that people have for a person when they say they have diabetes. And unfortunately, a lot of it isn't always accurate. So we first go through that to figure out, okay, what do they know? What do they believe? And making sure they have accurate information to help them get their glucose under better control.
I want to fire off a bunch of questions that are nutrition related, and I'm just
Sure.
kind of curious. And these are things that I would think is trending.
Hmm.
Let's start with protein. So
Hmm.
I've been hearing in the last year that we need way, way, way more protein than we think. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that can sometimes go into more of like the fad of the like four-letter word that we're not going to talk about.
Hmm.
I think sometimes we can make it kind of into this food that everybody should have so much and in an abundance. And that can be dangerous because if we have too much, if somebody's not aware or if they have kidney disease, for example, having too much protein
Mm.
can be much more challenging on your kidneys and cause you to have more issues going into a more severe stage of kidney disease. So we have to be careful that, you know, taking things figuratively with a grain of salt, as I would say, just because I feel like protein, yes, it's essential. We do need it. And sometimes, depending on what people's medication they're on or their lifestyle or their health conditions, they may need more protein or they're working out more. There's different situations. But the thing to remember is like we can't live just only on protein. So we still need our carbohydrates, we still need our fat to balance everything out.
Yeah, some people very much into the keto diet.
Hmm.
But there's a place for carbs too.
Right, right. Yeah.
There's so much involved here. And there really is. What about intermittent fasting? That
Right.
is getting a lot of attention right now. Your
Hmm.
thoughts?
Again, I know this, I'm saying this all the time, but it really depends on the person. Intermittent fasting can work for some people. My main concern with that, though, especially for a client with eating disorders, especially, for example, a binge eating disorder,
Mm,
typically with binge eating disorder, recommendations are to eat every 4 to 5 hours because it's going to help reduce the likelihood of a binge. If we go 12, 16 hours, our body can get into this state of feeling very, very hungry, almost to that hangry aspect, and then we're eating anything possible just to get food in. And so that can be very, very triggering for a client that has binge eating disorder. So we have to
mm.
be really mindful about, okay, who is doing it? Is it in their best interest to continue that?
Let's say that somebody doesn't have any eating disorders
Hmm.
and they're healthy, but
Hmm.
maybe they want to lose some weight. And I've heard somebody even can't believe everything, but it's somebody, a friend on Facebook and Instagram,
Uh-huh.
and they had you lose all the weight, intermittent fasting and watching what you eat and some exercise. Um, for somebody that is in good health, do you think there's a place for intermittent fasting? Maybe not every day, maybe every few or whatever.
I would say not for everyone. For some people, yes, I think it can be beneficial. But for a lot of people, it's just not doable with their lifestyle, with their work schedule, things like that.
Gotcha. What do you want people to know when it comes to food,
The
just in
key is,
general?
in general, yeah, that is hard because it's so so in depth, so much
Yeah.
information.
And
Um,
everybody is unique. I don't
exactly.
particularly care for seafood. So I
Hmm.
know it's good for you, et cetera, et cetera. Had a bad
Hmm.
experience back in the day. So
Sure.
yeah, I kind of
Yeah.
wrote it off here and there. A little
Hmm.
fried calamari every once in a while is okay, but it's fried. Um, but everybody has their own thing. But what what would you want people to know when it comes to food?
Really, what I want people to know is it's really about balance and moderation. Because I think anytime that we go too far one way or the other, all or nothing philosophy, that can get us into a lot of trouble with eating. So we really need to make sure that not only are we getting the carbohydrates, fat, and protein, but then from there, we're getting those micronutrients because those are also essential for our body. And
Hmm.
again, just making sure that we're not taking things to an extreme because that can really get us into nutrition challenges.
Micronutrients. I've heard that
Mhm,
term before.
mhm.
Not even sure what it is.
It's okay. As far as micronutrients, those are going to be your vitamins and your minerals. So, for example, vitamin C, vitamin D, just to magnesium, potassium, those are just a few examples.
So that gets us into supplements. What are
Hmm.
your thoughts there? Obviously, let's just put it out there. You should be eating a well-balanced meal plan. I didn't
Right.
use that
Yeah. Thank you.
word again.
Yeah.
Um, to get everything, but most of us don't. So your thoughts on supplements?
Supplements can definitely enhance what we're eating if we're not able to get the full amount of what we need. The one caution I have is that supplements aren't regulated. So you have to be
Mm.
very careful that the brand you're buying you can trust and that they have third party studies to show that what's actually in the container is on the label and it matches. So that's my number one concern I have for my clients is which supplements are using what brands, and I research them to make sure that they are helpful and not harmful.
Do you think, as a rule of thumb, with a trusted supplement, call it a daily vitamin? Is
Mhm.
there any harm in just doing that, taking a vitamin, um, just to make sure you're getting everything?
The daily vitamin for the average person should be fine. It comes into play though if you're having different, again, micronutrients. So, like for example, if you're having a high potassium, you would not want to take a multivitamin because that's going to have potassium and that could increase it for you. So that's where it's helpful to meet with someone like myself so I can go through your health history and really make sure that it's safe and helpful and beneficial.
To your point before about labels, and I read
Mhm.
them every once in a while.
Mhm.
And this is a few months ago, see a product in the frozen food section, and it was meatless patties. So I'm like, oh, okay. So a vegetable, black bean burger, if you will.
Mhm.
Not that I have anything about eating meat, but I was like, this looks like it's going to taste good, and it did. It was okay. Um, Green package, Morningstar Farms. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, it looks like it's more holistic, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Then I look closer at it and I see that it's actually made by a company that makes breakfast cereal. Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
There's basically only two out there.
Right.
So right away, it kind of blew it for me. Like,
Mhm.
and nothing wrong with that, but that's not the farm I was thinking of.
No.
So, and it wasn't their name. It wasn't the actual name of this company. It was a
Right.
subdivision that remotely sounded like the name. So I looked a little bit closer into it. And I'm like, oh, starts with a K. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Now, I'm not saying there was anything wrong with the product, but it wasn't what I thought. And I have to believe if it's mass produced by this conglomerate, that there's
Right.
probably a lot of things in there that aren't good, I would
Mhm.
assume. Reading the label it sounds imperative.
It is definitely helpful. The key to remember is to not get obsessed about it because
Okay.
you can look at so many different aspects and that's not helpful. But zoning in on maybe one or two different areas can be beneficial, definitely. But yeah, that's the thing too is a lot of vegetarian products, everybody assumes it's 100% perfect, and there's no perfect food necessarily. And so we have to be careful of just because it's vegetarian doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily the best for you. But you
Mm.
bring up a good point. Yeah, that
Even looking at
marketing
the
is great.
oh, you read my mind. You read my mind. You need to like read into what that is on the label because you might be looking for a product and oh, it looks really good. Okay. And then it says contains organic ingredients. Well, that doesn't mean it's all organic. It
Right.
contains a few. And then there was another one. Funny, you just reminded me. It was a breakfast cereal. Somebody gave it to me. Again, it looked like it was a smaller brand, which maybe more holistic.
More gourmet. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was from one of the big ones,
Uh-huh.
and
Sure.
flip it over, and it says contains um, products GMO, blah blah blah.
GMO.
I was
Yeah,
like, all right,
yeah,
is
yeah.
that a reasonably not a good thing? GMO products.
Again, if you can do organic, that's beneficial, but it's not realistic with grocery prices being so expensive. It's not always um, doable for a
Yeah.
lot of people. So if you can move away from that, it's helpful. Um, can you take them out 100%? It depends on the person. But it is in quite a bit of foods, and you're right. Typically I always say, don't even look at the front of a label because that's all marketing. They're
Hmm.
trying to bring you in. They're trying to get you to buy the product. So just turn it over and look at the nutrition facts, and then decide, is this going to be the best option for me?
We talked about a lot today. We didn't even get into the fact that you're an exercise physiologist
Mhm.
and much more. If somebody is going through some challenges, whether it be diabetes, maybe an eating disorder, sensitivities, things like that, or they just want to get on track, what's the best way to reach you, Abby?
So the best way to reach me is either through my website, which is AB Nutrition Solutions, or they can just call me, and that's 269-369-2347.
Awesome having you on today. And I got to tell you,
Thank
next
you.
time I eat something, I'm going to be thinking of you
Okay.
and our conversation as the rest of us. Lots more to talk about next time we get together. And I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.